So for this video, I'll be going over the life history and details of the species known as Muskellunge, also sometimes referred to as Muskie, whose scientific name is Esox Muskellunge, which in Latin means a type of fish and an ugly pike, which is pretty appropriate since it's in the pike family Associdae, along with other species like northern pike or chain pickerel. Muskie have a long torpedo-shaped body with a mouthful of sharp pointed teeth and anal and dorsal fins located on the back of their bodies right near where their caudal fin is. Most of the time their coloration is going to be light brown to a greenish color, with underbellies having creamy or white coloration to them. There can also be variation in the patterns. Most of the time the Great Lakes will have the spotted variant, where the Midwest you'll mostly see the clear and barred pattern muskies. They're often confused with northern pike, who share a similar appearance and body shape, but they have a few notable differences, with some of them being the fact that the tips on northern pike are going to be rounded on the tails, as well as the fact that while muskie have light coloration with darker vertical bars, the pike will have the opposite, where it will be darker coloration with lighter bars. But sometimes they can hybridize, which would create a tiger muskie. And the way to tell them apart is that they will have cheeks with either half to two-thirds covered in scales, whereas muskies won't have any scales on their cheeks. Although they'll have the same coloration as muskies, their tails will also be rounded, just like that of the northern pike. In terms of where muskie are found natively in North America, they're distributed from east to west, ranging from New York to Minnesota, and then from north to south from Ontario all the way down to the northern part of Tennessee. And like I said, there's a lot of variation in the patterns you'll get, but they're all considered the same species and are seen as an apex predator in all the places they reside. Muskies spawn from mid-April to late May, and usually do so when the water temperature reaches about 50 or 60 degrees Fahrenheit. The females will lay anywhere from between 20,000 to 200,000 eggs, depending on her size, and then it'll take those eggs about 5 years to mature into males, or 7 years to mature into females, both of which will be around 30 to 36 inches once they reach a mature age. The adult muskie really doesn't have any predators, but can be taken out by things like disease or large birds or even humans. And they usually live to be around 20 years old, but there has been documentation of them living to be 30. They really like large lakes or calm pools with deep areas and a lot of aquatic vegetation. And they usually grow to be bigger if there's a presence of northern pike in that same body of water. They'll eat pretty much anything that's smaller than them. They can consume organisms up to 2/3 the size of their body length, and this even includes other muskies that are smaller than them. There is a pretty big presence of sport fishing for muskie, especially up in states like Ohio or Wisconsin, and even up into Canada. And they're mostly gone after due to their unpredictable nature and the large sizes they can reach, as I talked about earlier in the presentation. They've also gotten the nickname as the fish of 1,000 casts, just due to the fact that it really takes a lot of patience to catch them much of the time. One of the things that has to be looked at, though, is the fact that many muskie caught have to actually be stocked, and they can't actually breed in the reservoirs that they're fished in, and so they'll be bred in other bodies of water and then transplanted as fingerlings into those lakes where fishermen will then go after them, and this is done on a yearly basis. A lot of the times the anglers will use things like crankbaits or large spoons along with even live bait such as like 10 to 12 inch white suckers to catch them. And one of the big things up north that they've started to raise awareness for is the idea of a catch and release for the muskie, which has resulted in about 90% of the fish being taken out of the water being put right back in. That's all for the Muskellunge presentation. I hope you enjoyed it, and here's a list of all the references I used in terms of information and photos.